Hey, I'm Steve Young, and you're watching the Letterman podcast. I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome once again to the Letterman podcast. My name is Mike Chisholm. Been away for a few weeks, been traveling a lot, seeing lots of concerts, things like that. I actually have two episodes in the can, but it's been a couple weeks since we have released anything. So thank you very much for joining us once again. And you know what? This week I wasn't sure if I was going to get to releasing an episode, but then the sky fell again like it did not that long ago with the bombshell epic event, another epic event happening in the world of late night television. Jimmy Kimmel being suspended. Um, so what do? Johnny Mac, host of the Daily Comedy News podcast, and I have once again come together to say what the F is going on in the world of late night television versus all of the entities that seem to be wreaking havoc in this thing that we love, and the confluence of situation when it comes to technology and platforms and all the things, the changes in broadcasting, changes in everything. They seem to be coming to a head, and like Johnny Mac and I talked about before, if Bill Carter hasn't been started the book yet, I believe I wouldn't be surprised if he's into it because Jimmy Kimmel, after saying some comments that were offensive to a very influential set of ears, and who knows what is going on. Pulled off the air, suspended indefinitely. And Johnny Mac and I talk about this. Now, here's the thing I love about John is that, he actually has legitimate play. He has legitimate, he's got credibility. I have enthusiasm, but my credibility, I'm not sure where that lies. John, however, having done what he has done for so many years in the world of comedy, in the world of broadcasting, he was the guy that I wanted to talk to. There's a few people I wanted to talk to. I had a good conversation, really nice conversation with Scott Ryan. Shout out to him, author of Last Days of Letterman and many other books as well. Owns a publishing company now. Just so proud of that guy. I love him. We had a really good conversation. He's going to be coming back on the show. And John, Johnny Mac. I really wanted to talk to him. We decided to put it on camera, and I'm glad we did. He answered a lot of my buffoonish questions. Had infinite patience with me, and I'm my bewilderment to what's going on here right now. And we talk about, by the way, about an hour after Johnny and I recorded the footage of David Letterman speaking with the Atlantic on stage, talking about Jimmy Kimmel. Go to that; it's in the Letterman podcast Facebook group. We have the clip there highlighted. I think it's at minute 33 of the broadcast of the digital broadcast, I should say. And it was cool because many of the things that Dave touched on, or the topics in that interview touched on, were things that Johnny and I talked about. And Johnny does a really good job of outlining, the FCC broadcast standards, what traditionally they have done, and has a really good handle on things. Then we talk about, of course, the idea of freedom of speech, what it means, and then the role of the late night host. I mean, is social commentary really necessary? It evolved in, when did that evolution start? A lot of people have reached out to me and asked about how I thought that Dave would have related to this situation. I monologue about that in this episode, but it's just us two friends coming together and talking about this thing that we love so much. By the way, again, I highly recommend the Daily Comedy News podcast. It's one that I frequent all the time because it's such a really, unlike this show, which many times is a bloated mass of audio jargon that no one cares to understand. His show, succinct, entertaining, all the information is pertinent, and it has a really nice flow to it. If you listen to it every day, or if you get behind, I got behind a little bit and I had to catch up. Listen to 3 or 4 episodes in a row in a half-hour period. Even faster if you speed up your podcasting the way that I do. I do the 2 times speed thing, have for years. It is like a really It's like a power up of knowledge about what's going on in stand up and the big strokes. But then also sometimes he gets into the smaller stuff, and then he has special episodes. Really a very, very cool place to frequent. Also, a shout out to Mark Malkoff. I've gotten a lot of response about Mark's book. Love Johnny Carson. We had the podcast about that. He's going to come on. We're going to talk about it. Little caps. I have the book. I've read it. It's incredible. It's a masterpiece. We're going to be talking about that moving forward as well. But yeah, great to be back with another for a really fresh episode. Not that the ones that are in the can aren't fresh. They're just, canned. They're in a can. Take the can out. It's delicious, right? It's very, very good. But when it's fresh, it's a little bit of a different experience. This guy here is being released less than 24 hours after it was recorded. I hope you enjoy. Anyways, thank you for people who have reached out and whatnot. Please join the Letterman Podcast Facebook group. It's robust. It's more robust than it's ever been. That might not have taken that much to make happen, but it's exciting nonetheless. Yeah. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Johnny Mac, host of the Daily Comedy News podcast. All right, Johnny Mac. I like that we do this. I do not like the reasons that we do this lately. I will talk with you all the time. I appreciate you so much and everything that you contribute to the world of this thing that we love so much, which is comedy. Everybody, Daily Comedy News podcast, subscribe, listen to it every day. It's awesome. Johnny, what the heck is going on with late night?
This is insane. I'm still, as we record, we're what, 19 hours into this news story, 20 hours in.
Yep.
My head is still spinning. I dropped a bonus episode on my feed on Wednesday night.
Yep.
I was just reacting cold to it. I'm just so stunned by this. And forget about what I have been calling Colbertgate. This is a whole other level for reasons we will get into. This is not, oh, your show's losing $40 million and we didn't want to ruin your vacation. This is something else entirely.
Yep. I could not agree more. I've got two things going against me. Number one, I'm Canadian, so I don't quite understand the nuances of everything going on down there. So I've got some questions on that. Number two is that I'm a buffoon. And so I need to talk to people who know more about these things than I do. To me, there's a couple of issues here. People are talking about free speech, free speech, free speech. Okay. But then there's also broadcast standards, the rules that need to be adhered to. And if those were violated, and perhaps there's a third one, which is personal taste. So everything with free speech checks out, everything with broadcast standards checks out, but the personal taste is now such that it has irked people who can make decisions on that. In your opinion, what are we dealing with here?
Sure. So let me speak to the FCC part of it, and I'll approach this the way I do in my college classes. Legal scholars will be able to nitpick what I'm saying here. I don't want to use the phrase "dumb it down," but I'm simplifying
Please
and
do for me.
generalizing to get the point across succinctly. So the FCC governs the airwaves, as we used to call them, AM and FM radio, broadcast television. Those are scarce resources. So if you look at the FM dial in the United States, if you look at the New York City FM stations, there's one at 92.3, the next one's at 93.1, the next one's at 93.9, et cetera. They're all 0.8 apart. That is so that the radio stations don't step over each other. And we regulate that. If you and I started a pirate radio station at 92.5, it would interfere with 92.3. So we have government oversight to say, okay, this station goes here, that station goes there.
Gotcha.
Same logic applies to television.
Okay.
Because those are scarce resources, we don't have infinite band. We want to make sure that they're properly taken care of. In the public interest is a phrase you hear a lot. In the public interest. As part of that, you shouldn't be reckless. And there are things you can do that could have your license to broadcast on such frequencies, AM, FM, television, taken away.
Yes.
The government cannot, asterisk, maybe they can, but up until yesterday morning, I would have said cannot take your station away because they don't like what you're saying. Now, there are rules. There can be corporate rules. There can be federal rules. For example, You can't swear on broadcast television. On HBO,
Yep.
swear all you want, but HBO is coming to you, and again, I'm simplifying, through a wire. It is cable television is the term. Now, maybe you're getting
Yes.
it via satellite or over the internet, whatever. You're not using the spectrum to
Yes.
receive HBO, so it does not apply.
Right.
I worked at satellite radio. Same thing.
Hmm.
That wasn't governed by the FCC. We still chose not to yell fire in a crowded theater, but we could drop F bombs all we want.
Right.
The other thing about things like swear language is the FCC is not staffed and does not spend their day going around playing gotcha. So you could go on 92.3 FM and go F, 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 and just curse for 2 hours.
Hmm.
And if no one complains, there won't be
Right.
an investigation because no one has complained.
Yes.
If someone complains, then they'll investigate. And, there's recordings and whatever will be like, oh, this guy, Mike, he broke the rules. And then that would normally be a fine. We will
Right.
fine your radio station for the 23 times Mike broke the rules and you're
Right.
scolded. To go straight to taking away a license is off the charts extreme.
Yeah.
I used to work for WOR Radio under Buckley Broadcasting, who
Yep.
had acquired the station from RKO. Now, at some point, my memory's foggy here. RKO was, I'll cue it up, strongly encouraged to sell all their radio stations and get out of the business for whatever they did wrong. So it was
Was there a
sell
horse head involved?
something like that, right? So sell the stations or we're taking them away.
Okay.
I heard Keith Olbermann say this on his podcast. Keith was unable to think of, he could not recall a time when a TV license was taken away. I
Right.
cannot. And I can't easily recall a radio license being taken away other than for like, you haven't actually broadcast on your frequency in years. You've clearly abandoned it. So we're taking your license away, that sort of thing.
Okay, let's hit a pause here for a question. Let's go back to perhaps an example that we would remember. When the Smothers Brothers were pulled, it had nothing to do with what you're talking about here. Licenses being pulled and the actual right to be in business and broadcasting. Correct? That's not the same thing.
No, not at all. The
Okay.
Smothers Brothers, much like Jimmy Kimmel, said some things that were based in opinion.
Yes.
The network chose not to back that opinion. And I want to get into the let me sidebar here for a second too.
Okay.
I've worked at a lot of big companies. You back your talent. I mean, that was drilled into me by those who came before me.
Yep.
You back your talent. You may have
Yep.
a conversation in the back room and be like, "Hey, Mike, can you cut it out with the Canadian
Yes.
stuff? Less
I get that a
Canadian
lot.
content."
Yes. Yes.
But publicly, I'm not going to shun you. I'm going to say, um, you know, Mike's been an outstanding host for us. We love the Letterman podcast, and we're going to continue to work together for years to come. Now, in the back
Yep.
room, we might be like, dude, the advertisers are like, all right, enough with the Colbert stuff. Get back to Dave, but that's a
Right.
whole separate thing. Publicly, we're going to support you. So this news on Wednesday that I was in the car. I was telling a story in my show. I was picking up my nephew at the train station. I played on my phone. And while I was playing on my phone, it was that the next star stations were pulling Kimmel, which was a big enough story. And within 10 minutes, it had evolved into ABC is pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live, pulling, not not even like we're going to run a rerun tonight because he has a cold, which is
Yeah.
something you could do. Jimmy's not feeling well today.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff goes on. Um, Straight to poll? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
And ABC is owned by Disney. Like, but these
Well-
are these are big players, big numbers. These are big things here, is what I'm saying.
So I was talking to some friends about that. Hey, we're mad. We're going to boycott ABC. We're going to take this out on ABC. Okay, boycotters, and I emotionally support you.
Yeah.
But I'll ask the boycotters, while you're boycotting ABC, are you also boycotting Disney, Hulu, Star Wars,
Marvel? Yep.
Are you boycotting all that too? Because you're either boycotting or you're not. And I'm, as much as I support Kimmel and all this, I think you're not.
Yeah. That's right. Well, okay. So I'm really grateful that you framed it that way. And even in the aside, because my phone started blowing up at the moment of the Kimmel announcement. And I think a lot of people don't even know what you just said is that, well, hold on a second, 20 minutes before, a very important piece of the puzzle was placed, and it was done so in plain sight, but many people aren't talking about that right now. So, can we go into that a little bit? How big of a deal is that within the broadcasting world?
To have stations pull a show has happened in the past.
Yes.
There were ABC affiliates that didn't show NYPD Blue until they got over themselves and aired NYPD Blue. There have been,
And affiliates have switched networks because of things like this as well, right?
sure, you do
Yeah.
you. You
Yep.
do you.
Yep.
I think there were, forgive me if this is inaccurate, I think there were some stations that didn't air the Carol O'Connor series in the heat of the night for whatever reasons one might make that decision. So affiliates can do this, and then you get into the discussion of, well, hey, if you guys are going to be an affiliate, you probably should air our programming, and you can break up and all that.
Yeah.
Um, but to further the timeline, a few hours before the next star piece of it, the FCC chair was on a YouTube podcast and made some comments about Kimmel and how Disney better do something. And it was a little loaded, and I think things escalated very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Many people are looking at this story as through the lens of Jimmy Kimmel said horrible things. He shouldn't be on the air. But the real story is the FCC chair going, hey, wouldn't be the worst thing if Jimmy Kimmel weren't on the air. I'm just saying, sometimes people lose licenses, you never know what happens in this world. And it's really about the FCC pressure on the stations, which, again, to come full circle, Jimmy Kimmel didn't get on and go F, 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 which would have resulted in a fine.
Yep.
This is, oh, we've got a late night host who said things that somebody doesn't like, and things roll downhill.
Yes.
Um, and then, factually, the president of the United States later in the day tweeted that NBC should get rid of Fallon and Seth next. Now, let's stop off there. Even in a world where we're like, you know what? We shouldn't be criticizing our leaders. We shouldn't be making jokes about our leaders. So this Seth Meyers fellow, he has to go too.
Yep.
Even if I flip that card, we're coming after Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon's biting, cutting edge
Yeah.
political commentary night after night. Like,
Exactly.
what's going on here?
Yeah. So let's precurse that, what you just talked about there, to when the announcement of Stephen Colbert came to light. I think the last time we did an emergency podcast, uh, President Trump at that point, what was the first thing he said? Celebration about Colbert, Kimmel's next.
Kimmel's next.
And then you have people who now, okay, so here's the other question that I have. How is the FCC an independent organization, or are they a full-on government organization where literally, like you said, things roll downhill from the top? A decision could be made and it could roll downhill and just be, this is now our mandate, i.e., we don't like Jimmy Kimmel.
I don't know the legal structure of where on the government organizational chart the FCC falls, but they
Okay.
are the government regulator of the public airwaves. Again, if on the Jimmy Kimmel podcast, he could do whatever he wants, and he could broadcast from his boat in the middle of the Pacific, and if he has an RSS feed, he can get his thing out there, and that has nothing to do with
For
the
now,
FCC.
what you're saying is for now he can.
Well, for now. But the crux here, even a version of Jimmy Kimmel Live airing on ABC doesn't have their own Peacock, but if
Right.
Jimmy Kimmel Live on Peacock
Oh, Disney Plus.
or Disney Plus, straight to Disney Plus
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
touching the public airwaves,
Yep.
that has nothing to do with the FCC. You can frown all you want, or
Right.
you could say when Disney Plus wants to merge with Peacock, maybe we'll throw a wrench in the wheels, maybe that kind of thing. But the crux here is you're using your airwaves to say things we
Yeah.
don't like, and we're going to take your license away. And the stations went, ooh, we don't want to lose our license because then your business goes from X million dollars to you have no asset at all,
Right.
which is scary.
Yes.
Uh, but you and I were, I think I did this publicly in the Facebook, in your Facebook group.
Yep.
And I keep thinking of Edward R. Murrow. I can't stop thinking of Murrow.
Yep. Good evening and good night indeed. Um, okay, so let's connect it just a little bit more. Okay, so this thing that's happening with Nexstar, there's a merger as well. Is
I
there not? Did I
think
read that?
I'm not sure. I
Okay,
haven't.
I thought I read that there was a merger as well, but that could have been the one thing that I do not appreciate about the world right now is the amount of fake like headline like clickbait type news that's out there. And that was something that I did read that there's some sort of merger that's upcoming as well. But the startling thing about this is like you said, two different issues here. The idea of taking a host's unpopular opinion in certain circles and allowing that retribution to occur. In your mind, has that ever happened? Like, has on this scale, has this ever happened?
So there's the court of public opinion.
Right.
Nothing is coming to mind, but there could be a scenario where
Okay.
someone on TV says something, and then there's public outrage, and then this person either gets put in timeout, or I'm sure if I took a second to think here, there's plenty of examples of people having gigs that abruptly end because they said something.
Totally.
Uh,
Yeah.
right. Jimmy the Greek, I think his career may have ended. The old CBS betting guy. I think his career may have ended abruptly, and my apologies to the Greek family if I'm misremembering that. But there've been a couple
I
things
think
like
it's the
that.
Greek family. Yeah. Apologies to the Greek family, but yes.
There have been some things like that. So sure, but that's the court of public opinion, or that is the
Right.
court of, yo, the advertisers aren't going to support this anymore.
Yep.
That's a thing. But this is seemingly pressure from the Federal Communications Commission.
Yes. And that is just I want to get to what he said. Like I've had a lot of people. Maybe we can. Okay, so you've. Thank you so much for that background. I appreciate it very very much. It provides a lot of insight. There's a lot of people I don't think that even knew about again that previous 15 minutes, proverbially. I want to talk about. I've had a lot of people reach out to me. I've talked to like 8 former Letterman staffers, all who which I'm not going to name any of what we've said in our conversations. One of them said, and soberingly, this is the end of democracy as we know it. I want to talk a little bit about what he said. A lot of people have said to me, "Oh, how would Dave have handled the Charlie Kirk situation?" And I mean, my word, we could go into that too. But I want to talk about what he said, and let's get to the free speech aspect of it, and the was what he said really like I'm not going to say it's not in poor taste. Somebody just was killed very publicly, and they've got a family, and they've got like so. There's always that part of it. There always is. Now the asterisk is many times late night hosts, comics. Too soon? Is it too soon? No. Can I start making fun of this now? And they make fun of things, right? So we know that this is the culture that does exist. Was what Jimmy Kimmel said over the line?
As I put together my podcast this week on
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, when I was putting together Friday's show,
Mm-hmm.
I saw that Newsweek had an article about people reacting to Jimmy Kimmel's comments. I clicked on it, I read it, and I didn't even put it in my script. It wasn't a thought in my head. I did not read that. And let me
Yeah.
say loudly and clearly, no one should be murdered. No one.
100%. Yeah.
I read the comments. I didn't react to it at all, and I didn't put it in a script. And a lot of things make it into daily comedy news, and I didn't even put that one in. So I personally didn't read Kimmel's comments. I still haven't heard him speak them. I've only read them,
Yes.
and I
Me too.
personally did not freak out. Now, if you want to get into the too soon or all that, the
Yes.
opposite of too soon is if you go back to last week, the first thing Kimmel said, and maybe as you talk, I'll pull it up on my phone. He said something like, can we all just be decent people for a day and not get into this? So I'm going to look that quote up.
Yeah, no, please do. I'll talk a little bit to one thing I do want to throw out there real quick. Like I've had so many people saying, "Oh, Dave would have done this and Dave would have said that." Hold on a second. In my opinion, David Letterman, like let's go back to OJ for a second. The OJ Simpson thing, and many people attribute Jay Leno and the Tonight Show going past Late Show in the ratings partially because Jay Leno made fun of the hoopla around the OJ Simpson trial, which was back in the day, believe it or not, one of the top things that all of pop culture was talking about was this OJ Simpson trial. Dave famously said, "I don't find double homicide funny," and said,
Yes.
"Let's steer away from that." And Jay went full force into making fun of all of that. So to me, the sensibility of late night / late show when making any political humor was to celebrate. To me, it was to celebrate the buffoonery of it. President Bush the second, walks into a wall, nose first. Okay, let's celebrate that. Let's make fun of that. He called President Clinton Bubba. Okay, so it's not like he didn't make fun of things, but he made fun of buffoonery as opposed to trying to weave into it, which is, I don't know if it was the Daily Show or whatever it was, but weave into it political commentary or social commentary into the joke at the same time. In my opinion, that wasn't Dave's thing. That wasn't Dave's thing. He might go for a hidden meaning or some irony maybe under the surface of the joke, but that would be the limit of it. I don't believe Dave would have touched this with a 12-foot pole, other than to maybe book people who talk about the polarization of our society, and people are listening to words and going out and inciting violence. Those words are inciting violence. I think Dave would maybe comment on that in a serious way with a guest. I don't think he would have touched in his monologues, making fun of. I don't think he would have touched Charlie Kirk. That's just my opinion, and that's to answer probably 30 people's questions. They've asked me the same thing, so or they've talked about it. So I just want to throw that out there.
I've noticed more and more on my own show just how much of a Letterman influence there is. I will.
It's one of the reasons I like it, John.
I will drop an that I don't need to, and it's not me doing a filler word, but I will do the Letterman, the quote from Jimmy Kimmel, and I didn't need to do that there. And that is a thing that's just in my brain from Dave. The thing we're going to talk about here is just a Daveism that's in my brain from when I was 14 years old.
Yes.
I share his sensibility. I've struggled with this. If you listen to my pod,
Yep.
Please
do.
I have been, thank you. I have been saying, what I want to do is make fun of Jim Gaffigan signing bottles at a Kroger, which is a thing that happened last weekend. I feel Jim Gaffigan doing a bottle signing for his whiskey at a Kroger is exactly what I want to do. I want to nitpick Adam Sandler movies. I don't want to talk about somebody being assassinated, but I do have to talk about Jimmy Kimmel not being pulled off the air. And to do the story properly, now I have to. There's clearly some political things to it. I'm not trying to debate Mr. Kirk's work or not, although I have just now, before I started talking to you, I did some research to learn more about him. I will encourage people, Google the phrase controversial Charlie Kirk quotes, and then choose an international source of your choice. So you're not being biased by the US media. Why don't you read some European articles about it?
Yeah.
And then you can form your own opinion on how you feel about what he had to say. Again, no one ever should be murdered.
Right. Exactly.
Jimmy Kimmel on day one, I found the quote. Jimmy Kimmel said on September 10th, instead of the angry finger pointing, can we just for one day agree that it's horrible and monstrous to shoot another human? On behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks and to the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence. And you hear me choking up even reading that.
I know.
I'm going to run this guy out of town.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. And that's that we talked about clickbait earlier with headlines and whatnot. That's a sentence or two with no context is how we live. People will pull out the 8 words that somebody says, the fragment of a sentence that somebody says on a podcast and say, "Oh," and they'll point at it completely out of context. And I believe that is certainly happening here on a larger scale when you go back 6 days, 5 days, whatever it was. at the same time, I look at what he said. So let's take, yes, murders, and again, taste too soon, all of that. I don't know that what he said is something that in a sane world is actionable. I can't, I'm having a hard time seeing it. And I tried to put it through the lens of, okay, what if it was a very liberal person and some stereotypical situation, a gun-toting son of a gun showed up and did what they did. Would it be the same reaction? I've been looking at it that way as well. And I'm trying to put the words over, and I can see why people would be upset about that commentary or that opinion if you want to take the humor or the attempted humor out of it. But I don't see it being actionable. But again, Canadian and a buffoon. So, I don't know why. But is it actionable?
Uh, Again, the network can have their own standards.
Yeah,
The advertisers do have influence on all these things.
right.
It's that it's a federal thing. I mean, what happens if someone doesn't like the opinion piece in tomorrow's New York Times? What happens if somebody doesn't like this podcast? Can I stay in your extra room, Mike? Um, like this is just not the way things have been up until this point. Are
No,
you hip to the Brian Kilmeade comments from over the weekend?
I'm not. No.
Okay, I have to pull this up correctly because, again, I don't want to misquote people. I know it's lame, the guy playing on his phone during a
No, 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 no.
podcast.
We're good.
But
We're good. I'm about 4 days behind everything right now because last week I was in Calgary, seeing Public Enemy. Interviewed Chuck D, and he's like a huge Letterman fan. Talked about his. I interviewed him for 6 minutes. That's going to come out. Hopefully, Chuck D's coming on the show, and he's going to talk about his love for Letterman. But yeah, no, no, no. So if you put these in your show already, forgive me. I'm a couple days behind it.
so Brian Kilmeade was on Fox and Friends.
Yeah,
They were discussing the mentally ill homeless challenges the United States is facing.
yep.
Uh,
We are too, by the way.
Reading verbatim here. Then Kilmeade chimed in, quote, or involuntary lethal injection or something, just kill him.
Oh, okay.
What?
So yes, the
What?
headline. Yes, 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 yes. I am familiar with that. I haven't gone into it deeper. Is there more context to that quote?
It was just a discussion of what are we going to do with these homeless people? Let's
Okay.
kill them. Excuse me, what?
Yeah.
Um, Mr. Kilmeade has apologized
Yep.
and he still has his job. I don't know what Jimmy Kimmel was going to do during Wednesday's monologue. He apparently was going to address this situation. I
Yep.
don't know if he was going to comment, apologize. Maybe he changed his own opinion. Maybe he was going to double down. Maybe he was going
Hmm.
to meet in the middle and be like, I didn't, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I don't come out here to be a jerk Monday night. And, some
Yep.
people took it the wrong way. Let me clarify further and do one of those type monologues. Or
Yep.
maybe he was just going to do Trump jokes for 12 minutes. I don't know.
Yep.
Um, but, you know, we gave Mr. Kilmeade the benefit of the doubt. He's still got a gig.
There we go. Yeah, we'll talk about context. That adds a tremendous amount there. That's right. Now, I mean, we're again, if there is a merger happening or these big business behind the scenes with him, doesn't sound like there was any. There's plenty with Kimmel, and again, it's just so the idea that if President Trump behind closed doors, when he makes that, here's the thing about me as a Canadian listening to the things that come from down south and come up. One of the things, the opinions that myself and a couple of friends who, talk about the dumpster fire that is your government right now, is things like Trump will say, this sounds ridiculous and it's proven ridiculous. This sounds ridiculous and it's proven ridiculous. This sounds ridiculous. Okay, but that sounds ridiculous. And then one of them in the middle will come to pass. and it will happen. And this does feel like they're coming after late night. And I mean, the from up here, the level of eerie tension that I'm feeling is palpable. How is it down there in New York?
So a lot of people like Team A, a lot of people like Team B.
Yes.
but things have challenged our mutual friend Alex Bennett.
Yes.
So back in the day, he and I would do friendly discussions about politics in the hallways of Sirius, and they were
Yes.
very friendly, and we would give each other the business. And depending on the news cycle, he'd be like, "Hey, I saw your boy did da 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 da," and then I'd be like, "Ah, I saw your candidate da 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 da," and we would just do that, and we were friendly, and we're still friends 20 years later.
Yes.
That's kind of gone now.
Yeah.
That if you open up any sort of discussion and you're not rooting for the same team, there's no friendly banter
Yeah.
anymore. Nothing gets solved. We're not going to meet both ways. And there's just so much noise. For example, we're all talking about Jimmy Kimmel today.
Hmm.
There are some other things that we might need to talk about that are, should we have a discussion about guns? Charlie
Yeah.
Kirk had a clear opinion about guns, but maybe the events warrant. Let's have that conversation, and let's have the respectful version of that conversation. Let's just take
Yes.
a look at things. Let's not yell and scream, and let's not set out on a course of, "Oh, I'm going to take away your rights," or "No, you're not."
Mhm.
Let's just talk things through. Uh,
Yes.
somebody factually, and I don't mean to laugh there at all. So let me wipe that off. But
Just say,
somebody who had advocated for the right to bear arms, simplifying,
yeah.
um, was assassinated.
Yeah.
Might be a good time to just have the conversation.
It's funny. I know that certain parties, whenever like a school shooting happens, there were people, the too soon thing that we were talking about. When there's a school shooting that happens and people start bringing up the idea of that, it's the Second Amendment, right?
Yep.
People who are in favor of that say, stop trying to take this and make it, it's a manipulation almost. And to me, that is a crazy argument. And when somebody who I would love to hear with civil discourse, as you are talking about, like we have gun control in Canada now. I mean, don't get me wrong, my dad, rest in peace, and all of his friends, hunters forever, all of my dad's friends had guns, mostly rifles and things like that, but we have gun control up here. The gun crimes and the murders, a fraction of what they are down south. This guy is a guy that rallied people, like what he rallied them about, don't like what he rallied them about. This is a center of influence down there. One of your centers of influence in your country was just killed. Is it not the best time to talk about this? And again, Canadian and a buffoon, so I don't know. But wouldn't that be the time to talk about it?
The time to talk about it was after a few dozen children were murdered at Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and we
Right?
didn't then.
Right? And that's when I
I'm,
heard,
I'm getting choked up even bringing that memory up.
yeah,
That we didn't have that conversation that day boggles my mind. And again, what form that conversation should take. Your dad would like to go hunting. I would like to buy an AR-15 with many, many stocks that can fire off more rounds in 1 second than a farmer in 1792 may have imagined.
yeah, but you'll get the deer. You'll get it.
So let's what are we talking about?
Right.
Let me just try and lighten this up about. So you've talked about too soon.
Okay.
Um, in terms of comedy, in
Yes.
too soon, you
Yes.
just have to nail the joke. I actually saw a good joke within 12 hours. I'm paraphrasing it, but the gist of the joke was that the head of the FBI or the assistant head of the FBI was a podcaster,
Yep.
and we're investigating the murder of a podcaster. This is exactly what podcasters are into, true crime. And there was a joke based around that premise.
There you go.
That
Yep.
that's a in terms of crafting a joke,
Yep.
that is a good joke premise.
Absolutely.
Now do you show up at Charlie Kirk's funeral and tell that joke? No. What are you, an a-hole? No, of course not.
Right.
Um, but a Yahoo on social media firing that off, you know what? Clever writing. If you told that at the Chuckle Hut at 10:30, that is what comedians do. And okay,
Hmm.
at some point it's too soon. It's environmental. It's, are you joking among friends? Or you're at the comedy club. Or you're hosting a late night show. Like I said, you don't show up at the funeral and do that
Yeah.
material.
Yeah. That's
But at
right.
the Chuckle Hut, It's a well-crafted joke.
And it needs to stay that way. I've been hanging out with stand-ups a lot lately. I've been trying to get the skill under my belt, and so I've been doing some local open mics and things like that. And I mean, the level of that balance is so important to know publicly, especially when you hang out with stand-ups, because a lot of the time when you're at the table after the place is closed, the joke there is no too soon because it's a free form. And this is just my experience. I'm not saying it's like this with all stand-ups, but I've been through a couple of different pods, and to me the similarity was you could say anything you want at that table and nobody is going to be chastised for it. Nobody's going to be, they might say, oh man, brother, no, like they might give advice about it or whatever, but you're free to say that stuff. And but time and place is extremely important, of course. I want to pivot a little bit with you, John. I was just on the phone, not to name drop, but I'm going to name drop Scott Ryan, who wrote Last Days of Letterman, which is my favorite book about all things Dave. I even like it an edge more than the Bill Carter books because of just what it is. Scott Ryan, awesome guy, friend. He's going to come on the show again soon. We were talking about this as well, and he said to me, he goes, "Okay, I want you to go into your memory banks here. We might need Don Giller for this, but do you remember when Dave started?" In his late show run, somewhere along the line, Dave started, while he was doing his monologue, he would throw to a video piece of some sort. It never used to be like that. Like people might come in and interrupt the monologue or something like that, but he would never throw to a piece of video. And that started. And we think it started around the time that Jimmy Kimmel started, around then. Just the evolution of this. And so we got into this big conversation about this, and then it goes back to The Daily Show. And to me, you take Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live, okay, it merges comedy and commentary. But The Daily Show really, really was, in my opinion, the first thing to really blur the lines between the two on a giant scale. Is what we're seeing here, in your opinion, the eventuality of doing that? Like, is this the extreme? Like if the extreme of, I don't know, is this the extreme of it where political commentary is so interlaced with comedy that it will incite violence? Is that the eventuality that would come from mixing those two mediums together?
I've never met any of the. No, I have met Jimmy Fallon. Other than Jimmy
Yep.
Fallon, I haven't met the rest of the current generation of late night
Yeah.
hosts. Their public personas, they don't seem like they're trying to incite violence. I feel like they're joke tellers. I feel Colbert and Kimmel and Jon Stewart and John Oliver may be truth tellers, to use a term that gets
Yep.
thrown around in a lexicon.
Yep.
Um, I feel, and Seth, I feel Fallon is like, hey, it's the Tonight Show. I'm gonna do karaoke with
Let's
John
be
Hamm.
goofy. Yep.
That's not
Yep.
a dig. It's we've had this conversation many times.
Yep.
That's Jimmy Fallon understanding what the Tonight Show is.
That's his
Uh,
lane. Yep.
Kimmel, his public persona has always been more outspoken. I
Yeah.
don't at all think he's trying to incite violence. I think he is wearing his politics on his sleeve, whereas maybe a previous generation did not.
Hmm.
And that's okay. We're all smart people. I know what I'm watching.
Yeah.
You know, now back to Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
He was the first one he freaked out when he found out he was the most trusted man in America. And he was like, no, 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 I'm doing a comedy show. What?
Yep.
No, no, don't trust me. I'm telling jokes. He was the first one to say it. Um, Kimmel's monologues have been a little more loaded, for lack of a better term, but,
Yep.
but I don't think he's hiding it. Um, so no,
I was
back to
hoping.
your original question, is this
Yeah.
the evolution? I think it's just the who's in the current chairs, and we're gonna have to see what happens on the other side of this now.
Right. So it's okay. It's yeah, it's okay. We have this medium that's mixing these two things together. Maybe it's three things actually. Now that I think about it, it's not just comedy, it's comedy commentary, and it's also news. Because like you said, Stuart talking about, there was a lot of, I remember reading when I was growing up an article that talked about how a lot of people were getting their news from Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live. And then later on, you referred to Jon Stewart, people saying that all the time, that they go in to check in with The Daily Show just to see the major headlines of the day. But now it's grown and evolved from that and twisted to people forming their comment, getting opinions from these things. I've heard Colbert say it as well. People have flat out asked him, about him, the truth teller part. That he's like, I'm just trying to make, it's just jokes, it's just jokes. And fairly recently, I think it was during the Biden run, is when the last time I heard him say that in an interview. I think all of them say that. Do they really believe it? They like John Oliver. I watched John Oliver's show a couple weeks ago, and I love Last Week Tonight. I do think my wife and I both think that over the run, it has gone from silly and interesting to certainly, in my opinion, it is the expression of mandates from above. It's moved in that direction. But I think today, if you still ask John Oliver, if he should be a trusted source for whatever, I think he's still going to side on the idea of being a comedy show.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Is that, but is that reasonable? Like these guys are all brilliant guys, and some gals too, who've taken the mantle a little bit. They must understand, because they're fans too. They must understand that there's some responsibility on that side of it. They must understand that. Really, like, wouldn't you think?
I think just it's been the evolution of the media, how we communicate in general. So if we go back many presidents, Ronald Reagan was the whale, and we all did the whale
Yep.
impression. Whoever started that, then we
Yep.
all did Dana Carvey's Bush.
By the way,
Uh,
Johnny Carson did a phenomenal Ronald Reagan,
yeah,
right?
but it was less about the politics and more about this old cowboy
It was
who,
caricature.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what the Bush impression was. And Clinton, and I want to dance delicately here because I don't want to offend, but Monica Lewinsky jokes. There is a person named Monica Lewinsky, yes, but generally speaking, Monica Lewinsky jokes were about Bill Clinton and the intern, not specifically the intern Monica Lewinsky. It was
Yeah.
about the married dude and the intern, and he's the president, and that sort of joke. That's what
Yeah.
that
It was
was.
it was the way to talk about, you could say Lewinsky instead of the word blowjob, which you're not allowed to say on TV. You say
Yes.
Lewinsky and everyone knows what you're talking about.
We get into George W. and we got into the malapropisms of it all, and that was
Yep.
sort of a harmless caricature. Meanwhile, people were very much debating the politics of the times, but from a comedy standpoint, it was, what Will Ferrell did, and you'd say strategery and words like that. It was just funny. No one really nailed Obama.
No.
Nobody really nailed Biden. And
No.
then we have Trump, who almost every comedian says it's too hard to lampoon because you can't keep up with the actual news cycle.
Yeah.
Now, if you're hosting a show, if you talk into a live mic long enough, you're gonna say things. I'm going to listen back to this hour we're doing, and I'm going to be like, I wish I had phrased that better.
Totally.
I wish I had explained that better. Oh, I misspoke there.
Yep.
I taught a class today for 2.5 hours. I'm sure I said something stupid. And when you're live, or if you're live to tape, you do enough things, somebody's gonna get rankled, and you're gonna wish you had phrased something better or differently.
Yes.
But over time, if you listen to somebody for 20, 30 years in some cases with the late night hosts,
Yep.
you get a feel for what they're about.
Yes.
They might not outright say I'm on team A or team B, but you'll kind of sort of get a vibe. If you told me Jimmy Kimmel I don't know, was hunting with George W. this weekend, I'd be like, oh, I didn't expect that. That doesn't seem like it matches Jimmy Kimmel's persona. If you told me Theo Vaughn went hunting with George W. this weekend, I'd be like, yeah, okay, cool.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
Great example. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. The I'm still dumbfounded by this. My original, I think the Facebook quote that the Daily Comedy podcast, or Daily Comedy News podcast, commented on, was my first line of that one, if it's the one I'm thinking of. And by the way, go to the Letterman podcast Facebook group, everybody, and enjoy the talk outside of this viewing and listening pleasure.
And be
Um,
very respectful talk
there.
too. I was in that chat on Wednesday night
Yeah, it
about this very
was.
topic.
Yeah.
All respectful.
It was. It was totally like, I think part of it is that we're all on both sides kind of baffled by it. I really do. But my initial sentence was, I hope Disney supports Kimmel. And this is kind of to go back to something you said earlier. What do we think? Like, what are we taking? Are we taking? Is Vegas taking bets? Is there odds on this? Is because I mean, yeah, like you say, it's a lot of stations potentially in play, and Disney, of course, is gonna look at that. Um, is it a foregone conclusion that he's gone?
I think he's gone.
Wow.
His contract only goes to May.
Yep.
The whole you back your talent, you did not back your talent. He's floated the idea of retirement. I've been quite loud about not believing him at all because of
Me
his
too.
age and
Yeah.
what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
But the network didn't back the face of the network and just his public persona personality. I think he's gonna tell them to buzz off. Now it's a pay or play contract, I imagine, as most are,
Mm-hmm.
so they could compel him to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Right, here's the money. We do want a show tonight, so pay or play is.
Yep.
I've signed you for $16 million a year, whatever the number is,
Yep.
and in exchange for that, probably your holding company will provide Jimmy Kimmel to provide the duties of host. That's probably
Yes.
how the deal is. So ABC can say, well, the money and the deal here says Jimmy Kimmel has to host Jimmy Kimmel Live, and we'd like our Thursday night episode, please.
Mm-hmm.
I think he may tell them to go buzz off and walk away from the money, in which case he would get fired, and that would be the
Mm-hmm.
story. Jimmy Kimmel gets fired.
Yep.
Um, I could see them going, you know what? Bigger fish at play here. We want to get other deals done. Nobody complained about Celebrity Family Feud. Let's just run that and who cares? And
Yep.
CBS gave us cover and we're out of the late night business too. And we're also going to save X million dollars. So we're out. I think he's gone just based on his public persona. Like how do you come back from that if the network didn't back you,
Mm-hmm.
especially with 9 months to go in your contract? Sit home, collect the money, and figure out what you want to do. And much like Obi-Wan Kenobi, he may become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit. Okay, so let's put a pin in that because the whimsical part, this I knew how I wanted to finish this podcast today with you because I mean, like, it seems like it's just body blow after body blow after body blow, and there's so many reasons to be sad. I wanted to end with a little bit of whimsy, so we're going to end with that. But just to go into what you just said too about the contracts and whatnot, if you want to learn more and do a deep dive in this subject, including that talks a lot about pay or play contracts. Bill Carter's second book on this subject called The War for Late Night. I highly recommend both The Late Shift and The War for Late Night. They're phenomenal books. I believe that they are books 1 and 2 of a trilogy because the third one is being written right now. I am
Yes,
positive that that's happening. Even though I reach out to him and he's not answering that question. He's being very elusive about it. But if you read The War for Late Night, it talks about this because the Jay Leno deal back in the day when he was on 10 p.m., the contract that he signed was actually, it wasn't just a pay or play contract like what you just talked about. It was a pay and play. He was guaranteed that he would be on the air. And because of that part of that word and, that was the reason that NBC was so intent about keeping him either pushing Conan back, pushing the Tonight Show back, whatever it was, because of that contract. So these contracts, very, very important when it comes to when stuff starts hitting the fan. Very important to know that stuff, and it's going to be very interesting to see how. I'm curious what James Baby Doll Dixon and Jimmy are talking about today. I'm curious about a lot of these things. One of the things that where the whimsy comes in is the idea of what these guys are going to do next. Like I have thought about a Conan O'Brien, Stephen Colbert sketch show 4 times a year, like where they could really come up. I mean, I said it jokingly kind of in the group, but there's a lot of people that are saying to me, oh my gosh, Strike Force 5 could be a weekly podcast that could come out and be absolutely huge. These guys, all of them, no matter what happens, they're going to land on their feet, aren't they? Like I get this feeling that even though, yeah, it feels bad now, they are going to land on their feet.
Yes, asterisk. I just did a hit spot on Allison Lip's podcast, and I brought this up. So let's go
Shout
back
out
to
to
Conan.
Allison. Greetings from the Idiot Box.
Let's go back to Conan. Conan gets fired from the Tonight Show, and we all love Conan. We all rally behind Conan.
Yep.
And you know what we never talk about, Mike? The 11 years on TBS. No one cared. Sorry, we all love Conan, but no one cared. It just kind of went away.
Yep.
So you've got on the big three or the big four networks, but you've got one of the big three 11:30 shows. That's something. That's a big platform, even in the diminished era of 2025 when it's not Johnny Carson's Tonight Show. It's still an 11:30 network show. You're
Yes.
somebody with a capital S.
Yes.
I'm a podcaster. No, whatever. You know, Amy Poehler is awesome. We love Amy Poehler. She had a great sitcom. She was great on SNL. She's got a big podcast. But like, is Amy Poehler's podcast The Tonight Show?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
We're
It's
watching
not.
reruns of Parks and Rec, not the Amy Poehler show on the podcast.
And it's super
Yeah.
popular, and I'm sure she's being paid well, and she's really
Yep.
good at it, and we all love Amy Poehler, but it's not The Tonight Show. It's
Yes.
not 11:35. So
Yes.
will they land on their feet? Will they work again? Sure. Conan O'Brien has landed on his feet, and he won the Mark Twain Prize, and everybody loves Conan, and he's Saint Conan, and it's all great, but we're kind of glossing over those 11 years in the wilderness on Turner.
I got to take a little exception for that because my gold. It's so funny. I love my golden age of late night was actually late in the late show run by a nose. I loved late night growing up. It's what created the sensibility that I have was late night. It was literally weird fertilizer for the plant that was me. But my favorite run in late night was when I had Late Show, Craig Ferguson's Late Late Show, and Conan's TBS show. And I will throw this out there by a lot of people say what you said there. Maybe they weren't habitual viewers of it, but we wouldn't know guys like Jordan Slansky. We wouldn't know Sona. We wouldn't know Reggie Watts. There are some things from that show. I think that show is probably the most underrated part of Conan's work, and a lot more from that show has entered our culture. But I do hear where you're coming from when you talk about the idea of him doing late night and then the Tonight Show and then that show. It's a completely different deal. But
I'm
people
not
still
saying
talk about the Chris Rock show. People still talk about the Dennis Miller show. It's just in a different way than they talk about the Tonight Show is what I would throw out there.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad.
No.
But if Jimmy Kimmel gets a show on Hulu,
Yes.
that's nice. I mean, the first week will be like, oh, Jimmy Kimmel's back. Good for him. Yay.
Yeah.
But let's check back 2.5 years into Jimmy Kimmel's Hulu show and let's just see where it is in the zeitgeist.
Yes. And that, of course, I that can't be, that can't be argued. You and I have seen it where it's gone from one late night show with outliers to two late night shows, solid, but both on the same network, to it then expanding into kind of an entertainment / broadcasting subculture of its own. We've seen that happen. So everything can, you get the expanding and the other thing, the contracting, the expanding and the contracting of things. We're watching that happen right now, but we're also watching a contraction of the medium itself. And we are living in fascinating times. Like, I got the popcorn made, and I'm glad that I have you to talk about this with, and so many other people to talk about this with, because obviously some parts of this are heartbreaking. Certainly the real life events, things like that. But at the same time, when you kind of take that emotion out of it, this is fascinating to watch right now.
It's a good news story, and I always like a good news story and sitting in front of the television watching things like you said, eating the popcorn.
Yep.
The thought I do want to put in everyone's mind before we start heading for home,
Yep.
is what's really worrisome here is the departure from the norm. So if you support, if you think Jimmy Kimmel should be gone, he said horrible things and all that, okay. When President Democrat comes for Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and Andrew Schultz,
Yep.
that's going to be just as bad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and again, I hope that you and I can keep doing what we do. I hope it doesn't then move to the down the layers. Like, is YouTube next? Is there going to be some sort of mandate that anything that gets put out there content wise That to me seems unthinkable. But at one time there was a comic books code, and
Right.
and so it's it seems unthinkable because of our time and place. But oh, no, 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 like this could easily happen, and I think perhaps us talking about this, and certainly if there was not an incentive to at least get, if not getting fully involved, at least get competent on who it is that is setting the standards, the laws, the regulations politically around us, making sure you know who your local leadership is, who your the next level, and then up to federal. It couldn't be more important. And I hope that this, if there is an optimistic thing, I hope that this can serve as a wake up call for people to get involved and create the country, the world that they want to create. Because we do currently, it seems like we have that opportunity still, but boy, does it feel like it's slipping away.
I hope you're right. I do think there are those whose initial reaction to the story is good. He should be fired. And then, good. It's good. Colbert's gone. He deserves it. And maybe you don't find either of them funny or you don't like their politics.
Hmm.
But I could rattle off. Should we all come for Tucker Carlson? Tucker Carlson shouldn't have a show anymore. We're going to get rid of Tucker Carlson. Um,
Yep.
I personally don't watch Tucker Carlson, but I have no problem with Tucker Carlson existing.
Yeah.
Do your thing, and I'll
Yeah.
choose not to watch.
I feel the exact same. I choose to listen to your podcast because I can't watch it. Although you do have the YouTube stream now with the graphic, but the Daily Comedy News podcast, I can't endorse it enough. It's on all the major podcast platforms, and there's a YouTube version of the show too, similar to this one as well. Johnny, I thank you so much. I know we're going to talk again sooner than later. I hope it's with happier circumstance, but I just appreciate everything that you do, and thanks for taking some time, kind of spur of the moment to come on here, and we can do this together. And it's an honor always to even be mentioned on your show. I appreciate your shout outs. I appreciate everything that you do. Thanks for being such a good friend, bud.
Back at you, and let's hope the next one is a happier episode.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much. This has been another episode of the Letterman Podcast with Mike Chisholm. Coincidentally, I am Mike Chisholm. Thank you and good night.
Overcoat and underpants.